Welcome to Eternal Family Adoptions, where members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints share stories and secrets of building forever families through faith-centered adoptions. I'm Donna Pope. Join us as we discuss how our faith can guide our adoption journey and create family connections. I'm so excited to be here with Kaylee. And Kaylee, say your last name so I don't mess it up.
Anglesey.
Anglesey. Okay, Kaylee Anglesey. And Kaylee, it's a joy to be with you because you're a devoted birth mother and you have a mission to share your story and help others see the beauty and hope that can come through adoption. You strive to inspire birth parents, adoptive families, and the wider community to approach adoption with love, trust, and faith. Kaylee's adoption journey began when she made the life-changing decision to place her daughter for adoption. She connected with her family through adoption.com, found her perfect match, a family whose love and support turned out what could have been a painful chapter to one of hope and joy. Through this process, Kaylee has witnessed firsthand how the right match can create lasting bonds and make the transition easier for both the parent and child. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. So Kaylee, let's just start by you telling your story. Now, you don't have to go clear back to your birth, but tell us as much as you can about, your adoption journey, when you decided to do an adoption, why you decided, and just let us follow that journey along.
Yeah. So I found out that I was up in college at BYU-Idaho, and I found out that I was pregnant in February. And I told my parents the day that I found out. And their reaction was shocked, obviously, but they were also very supportive of whatever I was going to do. I just remember the first thing that my dad said was, well, we love you and we're here to support you, which just meant the world because, it's a hard conversation to have, for sure. But I ended up moving home from school a few weeks early just because it was just difficult. I just needed to be with my family. So I moved home early, and things had ended with the father, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, if I was going to single parent, if I was going to place for adoption. And my parents were very supportive, but they were also very informative, which I was very, very grateful for, because I'm a very logical thinker. When I'm stressed, I'm very logical. So
tell me what you meant by they were very informative. What does that mean?
They just presented the facts to me. Like, these are things that you should consider if you're going to keep, and these are things that you should consider if you're going to place. And what about, how is your schooling going to look like? How is your future marriage going to look like? Your future family, and both options, financial, responsibilities, right? And things like that. And which was very helpful for me to just see, another thing.
Did you feel like they were pushing you one direction or the other?
Mm-mm. No, not at all. I was very, very lucky to have non-biased parents. Like, they they didn't push me in any way, which I was very grateful for.
Why was that important to you?
Because I think if they were pushing me towards adoption or pushing me to keep, it wouldn't feel like it was my choice, and I think that I would probably resent them in the future if things didn't go my way, or not my way, but things didn't go smoothly, But since it was completely my choice, I am responsible for it, And so I definitely had a lot of very serious and real conversations with my parents, just about them having concerns about my future and having, as any parent would, especially in this situation. Um, but yeah, so, and one thing that they had said was, even if you end up keeping the baby, we want you to talk with adoptive families, so that if adoption is right, you will at least like have felt it out, right? Because if you don't seek it out, it would be hard to feel like adoption is right if I don't even know what it would entail. So I had every intent of keeping my daughter, and I really didn't want to even look into adoption. So that's why I looked at adoption.com, because I was like, oh, well, it's not really official. I don't have to go through an agency, right? And it was kind of just easier to say that I was looking at families,
And so you just went on to adoption.com and you just started perusing the adoptive families.
Yep. Yeah. And I wanted families who lived in Utah. That's where I live. I wanted families who lived in the same state as me, and I wanted them as my same religion, LDS. And so that narrowed it down to a bunch of families, and I ended up talking with like 12 different families. And I'm so grateful that I talked with so many different families, just because I talked with families who had never adopted before, never had kids before. I talked with families who have had biological and adopted kids. I talked with families who only had adopted kids, who like every mix. And I talked with their birth moms. Like I was very fortunate to be able to talk with families who allowed me to talk to their birth moms and like hear their story and their side of things, and really gave me insight of like how an adoption can really be and can really look, because you hear stories, but that doesn't always mean that that's how it's going to be.
So these are families that have already adopted before, and they had an ongoing relationship with the birth mom, and they said, well, here, talk to this birth mom who we also have a relationship with, and see what she has to say.
Yeah.
And why was that helpful to you?
Just hearing their story and hearing, like, I told them, I was like, please be so honest with me, because I don't want to hear the glorified sugar-coated version. Like, tell me the good and the bad. And it was just helpful to see what my life would or could look like, And I also talked with single parents. I talked with everyone that I could to inform myself before I decided on adoption. But I remember I went with my mom to meet am I allowed to like say their name?
Hey, you can say their name.
Okay. They're the Curtises. And I remember going with my mom to meet the Curtises for breakfast. I had called Elizabeth, the mom, prior and just said, hey, well, I had actually sent her a message on adoption.com, and her phone number was linked. So I texted her as well. And I said, hey, here's my story. I'm trying to figure out if I want a place for adoption. I'm talking with a bunch of families. I would love to get to know you. And she thought that I was a scammer. She did not think that I was real. But she still contacted me back, and we ended up FaceTiming, and it went really well. It was kind of a not surface level, but just a generic conversation. And then she told me about just a past experience that she had with an adoption. And it had been a birth mom who said that she was gonna pick them, and then she wasn't even pregnant, and which is heartbreaking, right? And
that was a scam, and
yeah,
you can see why they were
exactly. And so I was really excited after talking to her for the first time, but I remember talking to my mom and being like, I don't want to get close with them and then tell them I'm not going to pick them anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, because she's already gone through that. I don't want to have to put her through that again. I don't want to have to put their family through that again. And my mom was like, well, I mean, what if that's your family? You know, like, you kind of just have to take that leap and be honest, right? They know what they're getting themselves into. If you say, I'm still talking with other families, this sounds like I'm like talking about dating, right?
It sounds like dating. It really does. It sounds like dating.
Yes. And like, but I told him, I was like, I'm still talking with other families and getting to know other families. But then I decided to reach out and I was like, hey, can I meet you guys in person? So I met Elizabeth and Richard in person at Neaters. And I went with my mom, and I remember, they just mean everything to me. And I remember seeing her at the door, and she just was jumping up and down. I was so excited. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to meet you. I'm so happy. Like, and I was just like, oh my goodness, you know, like, I have the same energy. I'm very extroverted, very like, and so that was just really fun to like connect on an energy level. And then we just talked and it was super fun, super easy conversation. And they were I think the second or third family that I had met in person. And I just remember thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think this would be my family. But I was like, but I don't want to close off other options just because I haven't seeked everything out. And so, I still talked with other families, and then I narrowed it down to 2 families. And, then I met both of them. I met their kids and I went to their house and, then just prayed about it and just tried to, I didn't find out the gender, of my baby until after I picked a family, just because I felt like it would be hard to add that emotion. Not that it would have changed my choice, but I was like, I just don't want that added emotion. And so after meeting both families, I just felt really, really strongly that the Curtises were my family. And so I told my mom, I was like, I think that this is the family that this baby belongs to. And she was like, okay. And we left on a trip the next week, and we're gone for like 2 weeks. And I think that was really important for me to kind of let it settle and not just like jump into it and tell them right away, just to make sure. And then I told them I wanted our families to meet, and so my family went and their family went. They have 3 boys, and I have a younger brother who's the same age, and so they were all playing at the park and stuff. And we would watch The Bachelor together. We loved The Bachelor, and so they would always ask me. They would say, "So in the Bachelor adoption, where are we ranked? Where do we fall in the Bachelor adoption?" And so when I told them that I was picking them as my family, I had one of my friends make some rose cupcakes, and I was like, here's the final rose because you're my final family. And so it just felt so relieving knowing the family that she was going to and knowing the hands that she was going to be in.
How far along were you in your pregnancy at that point?
When I chose them, it was at the beginning of July, but I didn't tell them until the middle of July. So I was, I'm trying to think, probably about 22 or 23 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's quite that's, you still got a lot of time left.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I suspect that they've kind of wondered, I wonder if she'll change her mind and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think my mom had that thought too. Like, I know she was really hesitant to get to know the Curtises really well because she's like, well, this could change. Like, there are so many failed adoptions, sadly, you know, like, and I was just like, no, like, I'm going to trust my gut. I'm going to trust that I prayed about it and felt really strongly. I'm going to trust God, trust myself. And, yeah. So then after I told them, a week later, we found out that she was a girl. We did a gender reveal together. And, they have 3 boys, so it was their first girl, and she like always wanted a girl. And so it was just, you know, super sweet. But I do think it was a little bit bittersweet on my family's side because like I'm the oldest and the oldest girl. My mom is the oldest girl. And so it's like I think that kind of hit a little hard, you know, like, oh, the oldest girl, like grandbaby, right, isn't gonna be ours, you know.
That is hard. And for your mom,
yeah,
and you got to respect and admire her willingness to lose that relationship too.
Yeah.
And how was your dad through this whole thing?
He was very supportive. I definitely talked about it more with my mom. My dad he had a conversation with me and he was just like, Kaylee, I want to be so upfront with you. Like, if you are considering if you're considering about keeping this baby, like, this is why I'm worried, you know? And he was like, I really think that you should look into adoption seriously. And he's like, I will support you if you keep the baby. But this is where I'm at, you know? And but he was always supportive and
what were some of his concerns?
I think he was worried, number one, about like my education and my future, because my dad was like, you're not dropping out of college, I'll tell you that much. He was like, you're staying in school and you're gonna have to work to provide for this baby, and we'll help you, but we're not gonna be your crutch 100% of the time, you know? He's like, you're an adult and you are gonna have to work through this. Which I think was good, right? Like, just leaning on my parents for everything wouldn't have helped me if I did keep, right? It wouldn't have taught me or helped me grow up at all. And I think he was worried for my daughter as well, you know, because I was 19, right? Like, I mean, I'm only 20 now. It's a kid raising a kid without any help. And just, yeah, concerns there, you know?
So many people would say, well, you just didn't really care about this child. That's why you're thinking to do that.
Absolutely not. Sorry. And it makes me so sad when people look at adoption that way, because it's the exact opposite. One of the main reasons why I placed Posey for adoption is because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to give her the life that she deserved. And I loved her so much to give her that life. And I still love her so much that she has that life now. And it makes me so sad when people are like, oh, well, you just didn't love them enough. It's like, no, I loved them more. It was the hardest thing I have ever had to do. Ever. And I honestly have had a really easy adoption. I think the hardest part was signing in the hospital.
So tell us about that. So you told them at 23 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that you kind of got together once in a while over the next
we would get together at least once a week. And so we became very close, and just got to know each other really, really well. And then we actually did a Halloween costume together because her due date was November 1st. And so we had a Halloween party right before, just in case she came on Halloween. And she came on Halloween, actually. She's a Halloween baby. But yeah, we would get together, and then we actually did a maternity photo shoot. Elizabeth is a photographer, and we did a maternity photo shoot, and it was so special for me because obviously she wasn't my baby, but it meant so much that Elizabeth wanted me to have those memories. And because that will always be a part of my life. And that pregnancy and feeling her kick and having a baby bump. And, and I think a lot of times when there's a situation like this, right, it's kind of like, oh, well, don't talk about it. She's placing the baby for adoption, right? Like, it's just, but Elizabeth was really, really supportive of me having that experience, And so we did a maternity photo shoot, and I got to take pictures with Elizabeth as well. And it was just really special, like I just got to share a really special moment with my daughter's future mother and my daughter, and so we, it was I think like 3 a.m. when I started having contractions, and I didn't think that they were contractions. I just thought they were pre-labor cramps. And so I texted them, and I was like, I'm having cramps, but I don't think they're contractions. And my mom came in like 6 hours later, and she's like, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm uncomfortable. Like, this isn't great. And I called Elizabeth, and I was like, hey, my mom says we need to go into the hospital, at least just to get checked. And so she's like, watch, you're going to be dilated to 9 centimeters, and you're not going to even know. And I was like, or I'm going to be dilated to 2 centimeters and be sent home. I was like, I don't want to be sent home. And so we ended up going in, and we called Elizabeth and Richard because I wanted them to be there at the hospital. And so my parents were there, and Elizabeth and Richard were there, and my sister was there as well. And when I got to the hospital, I was at 9 centimeters.
Oh, my land.
Yeah.
Oh, my land.
I know. Well, and they checked me in and they were like, "Is this your first baby?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Okay, like it's probably gonna be a while, you know." And then they finally get me back to triage to check, and I'm at 9 centimeters, and they're like, "Oh my gosh." So my mom's like, "Elizabeth, you gotta get here now. Baby's about to come." So then we had it was I got an epidural, so it slowed down the birth a little bit, and we had a few hours. And I remember it was just the hospital was just such like a sacred time. And just so special. Like, and I truly felt like Elizabeth and Richard were there for me. I knew that they were there for Posey as well, but I really felt like they were there for me. Like Richard would rub my feet, and Elizabeth was like holding my hand as I was pushing, and I remember, sorry, I'm getting so emotional.
That's okay.
I remember hearing her heartbeat and just not wanting to let it go. And I told my mom, I was like, I could listen to that forever. And, but she needed to come out. she had to come out. And, I just remember I don't want to do this yet. Not because I was scared of birth, but because I didn't want to let her go, you know? But then we had her, the birth was beautiful. And after having her, I just remember holding her and just losing it, like just crying. I was like, oh my gosh, you know? And then I just remember looking to my right and looking at Elizabeth and just seeing like tears in her eyes, and like it just felt like she's saying like, I'm so proud of you and I'm here for you, you know? Which was so beautiful. And yeah, they didn't hold her for a couple of hours. They were like, no, we don't want to be the one to. They're like, she can initiate that, you know. But Richard was the one to cut the umbilical cord, so that was fun. she had all C-sections, so he never got to cut the umbilical cord. But then we went to I can't remember what the room's called, but the room that you stay in overnight. And they brought their boys over to meet her, and it was really hard being alone with her.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh my gosh, I want to keep you for myself. But I know that's not what I'm going to do. But the second that Elizabeth and Richard would come back to visit, it was like, oh my gosh, this feels so right. Which I was really lucky to have that reassurance. And I remember after they left, my mom stayed with me in the hospital. And I remember after they left, my mom, I was just crying. I was like, this is going to be so hard. And my mom was like, you don't have to do it. Like, you haven't decided, you know, you still have a choice. And I was like, no, like this is what I've chosen, and I'm not regretting my decision. It's just hard. And then the next day is when I had to sign papers, and I think that was the hardest part of everything. Like, I don't know, like I knew that I was going to see her again all the time. I knew that I was going to be in contact with their family. I knew that, right? But it's just the action of like signing away your child for life. Like, it's not just like a school waiver. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really, really heavy. And I had Elizabeth and Richard in the room when I was signing, just because it was easier for me to do that, just to see, like, this is why, you know? Which I know for a lot of birth moms is different, right? Like, some birth moms will take the baby home for a week and bond with the baby and then place in an agency. Like, there are many different ways. But for me, that just was the easiest for me.
Do you think it would have been harder or easier to wait a little longer?
Harder.
For
sure.
Good.
Yeah, I think that if I would have taken her home, I don't think I would have placed her.
Yeah. And a lot of people kind of complain. They say, well, because once you sign the papers, and I know people were very clear with you, once you sign the papers, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's irrevocable. That's the word. Would you think it would be harder or easier if you could have changed your mind and maybe the next day, thought about it and changed your mind?
Like you're saying, I could have taken the signature back? No. Mm-mm. No, I haven't ever second guessed. There's a bunch of things that you signed for, like that you're not going to do this and you're not going to do that, and this is what happened, right? And then there's like the final signature, and that took me probably 20 minutes to finally sign. It was just a different, like the final one, but the second that I signed it, it was just like just, okay, it's done. I did it. And she's in amazing hands. And I'm going to get to see her grow up with an amazing family. And, it was, I never was like, oh, I wish I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's amazing about your story really is the relationship that you have with the family.
Yeah.
You may wonder, were they just faking it? And they're just wanting to get the baby and they're just kind of being nice. Did you ever feel any of that?
No, there were a few families that I did feel that with. But with them, it was like we kind of rarely talked about the baby. Like, when we were together, we were talking about things that I was doing and things that, and it was more of just, I was getting to know them as friends and people instead of, oh, you're going to take my baby, which for me was very, we did have a lot of conversations that were like, okay, how is this going to go? And, but anytime we talked, it was always them being interested in my life and what I was interested in or what I was doing, or just, it wasn't just about the adoption.
So how is it now with them?
I see them all the time. It's great. It's amazing. I'm very fortunate because most open adoptions aren't like the way that I have it. But they live like 30 minutes away from me, and we watch like shows together as families weekly, and I'll go over there, just my siblings will go over there just to hang out, or I'll go over there, or I coach tennis, and so I coach their oldest son, which is super fun. And yeah, just things like that. It's amazing. I FaceTime them, text. It's amazing.
If you were to think about your little girl, Josie, right?
Posey.
Yeah. Posey. What do you hope she grows up knowing?
How loved she is. they're like, my entire family just adores her. And like, my sister always goes to school and is like, look at my little niece. Like, and all of her extended family, Elizabeth and Richard are really fortunate with their extended family, and they all live in Utah, and everyone just adores her. And I really hope that she grows up. I really hope she grows up knowing how much I love her, because it was the hardest thing I'll ever have to do. And I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for her.
We have this thought of secret sauce or the secret power to your story. And we've written that you have an ability to approach adoption with a grateful heart and a faith-filled perspective. Can you address that?
I am a very optimistic person, and so I really try to see the positive in things, but there's also times where you can't do that. And I think that in those times it was where I really, really needed my faith to kick in, because thinking positive or being a glass half full it didn't always work. And so I think I just remember so many prayers of, please just help me feel peace about this, and please just help guide me through this. And every time I would receive peace every time, and it helped so much, and it helped me through the adoption from beginning to end, just because it was so constant. And that was one thing for me that was a big indicator of, okay, I'm doing the right thing, but yeah, I think that having an optimistic view of everything really helped me get through the adoption, but also when in those low points, being able to rely on my faith was crucial.
People may say, well, maybe you did something wrong, and so maybe you shouldn't have the Spirit of the Lord with you through this whole process. Now, I don't agree with that at all.
I don't either.
How would you answer that?
I think the Spirit can always be with you. You just have to reach out for it. And obviously I wasn't able to have a temple recommend for a while, but I was still able to have the Spirit, and I was still able to pray and receive answers. Like, Christ is always wanting us to reach out. It's like if your child is asking you for help, who's going to say no, right? Like, if your child is struggling and in a hard time and is genuinely needing something from you, you're going to do your best to help, right? And that's the same way the Spirit is. Like, Heavenly Father and Christ are going to help you. It might not be in the way that you think, but especially if you are trying your best moving forward, that's what Christ sees, is the effort that you're making moving forward, not your past mistakes or sins.
Right. So now, if you were talking with someone else in a similar situation to you, how would you advise them?
Seek out every single option that you have, because you're never going to know what feels right until you seek it out. and only choose your decision for yourself. Adoption isn't right for everyone, but you have to choose it for yourself, because it's going to be so much harder if you choose it because of someone else's influence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how would you advise parents, like your parents, of women that may be going through what you've gone through?
Patience is a virtue. My parents were very, very patient with me and just very loving. Yeah. And I that's what meant the most, is knowing that, number one, my parents would still love me no matter what I decided to do, and that they were going to be there for me no matter what I decided to do, and they weren't pushing me to decide one thing or another.
Now, how about to adoptive families who are wanting to adopt and are looking for someone as amazing as you to adopt? How would you advise them?
Be 100% authentically yourself, because you're not gonna match with someone that you want to be matched with if you're not being authentic. And just be supportive of the mother. That was the biggest thing for me that made it. I don't know how to word this. Sorry. The biggest thing for me when talking with families and choosing to keep talking with families was the way that what they talked about with me and how they talked with me.
Explain.
There were just some families who didn't really care to know about what I wanted in my future or what I wanted in the baby's future. It was more of like, well, this is how we're going to raise the baby, and this is what the environment the baby's going to be in, and this is what we do, and this is right. And I was like, no, I want to know how I fit into that picture, like, and how I fit into my child's life, you know?
Okay, now here comes a really hard one. You ready?
I'm ready. Ready as I'll ever be.
Now you're going to give a message to Posey. Let's imagine she's now 16. What message are you going to give her?
Sorry. You had the biggest plan to be here. And God made sure you came here with the greatest plan, and you were so loved and cared for by everyone involved. And always will be.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I think she'll hear this message someday. And I just kind of imagine what she will feel looking at a computer, seeing your face, hearing your voice, and knowing how you feel. So let's conclude with kind of your feelings towards God through this whole thing. You could have lots of feelings. You could have anger, you could have shame, you could have all kinds of feelings. Tell us how you feel.
I am more grateful than ever. I am so lucky that I was able to see God's hand in my life, because that's what really got me through it. And what really helped me to make the decisions that I did and the confidence that I did. There was a constant prayer in my heart and I was able to feel that peace that I was asking for. And I really felt like God never left me, which I know that a lot of people do. And I just wish that people who felt like God did lead them or has left them, notices the little things, right? Because when you're in the midst of a trial that is bigger than you feel like you can comprehend, it's really, really hard to see little things that God is trying to give you.
Give us an example.
I just remember I was having a really, really hard day. I was at work and I was just like, oh, is this what I should be doing? Is this what's right for me and for my daughter? And I walked into the bathroom and I saw this really, really small baby rose on the counter. And it was just something super simple like that. Like some kid probably left a flower on the counter, right? And I saw it and it was just like, oh, like little things like that.
It was like just a little reminder, you're loved.
Yeah.
You're loved.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that if you can have a specific way that you feel the Spirit or you can feel closer to God, if you ask for that, He will give it to you. For me, anytime I'm trying to make a decision, I usually make the decision and then go to God and say, please help me feel peace if this is right. That's not saying, put this big thing in my life to tell me if it's right. Like it's just peace. And it's really simple. But it's also really big in the grand scheme of things. And I'm really, really grateful for all of those moments of peace that I felt from my Heavenly Father when I was in a moment of desperation.
This has been so nice to visit with you, Kaylee.
Yeah, you too.
Do you have any final things you'd like to share?
I'm just really grateful for the Curtises and my Heavenly Father and my family for all being a part of this amazing journey. And friends, like everyone that has shown support, whether it be big or small. You have a bigger impact than you think you do.
One final thing. How have your siblings felt about all this?
It was really hard for my sister, especially right before I had the baby. But once she saw her in the hospital, it was just like an instant love for her. And they both love her to death. And my brother went over there yesterday to hang out with her. Like they both just love her just as much as I do.
And they think of themselves like aunt and uncle, or how do they think of themselves?
Yeah.
And so that's how they kind of felt.
I'm really lucky that Elizabeth and Richard, I don't want to say allow that, but allow them to be in that role.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Welcome them into their home. That there's a type of people out there in the world that have the ability to open up their hearts, and they don't feel the need to close it down at all. They just keep opening it and opening it and opening it, and they have that ability to just keep loving, regardless of who the people are that come in and love. I believe that is God's society, that is the way God lives, is with that outpouring of love all over the place. And the fact that An adoption is so amazing because it's like the epitome of giving of yourself and giving and combining with other people in a genuine, pure way. You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, that's the wonder of adoption.
Yeah.
And Kaylee, thank you so much for being with us here. All right, talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining this episode of Eternal Family Adoptions. I'm Donna Pope. Every child deserves not just a home, but a forever family rooted in love and faith. So visit our website, eternalfamilyadoptions.com, to access faith-based adoption resources and sign up for a newsletter. And join us next time as we continue this journey together.